Hi, this is the Hotbox, telling you that this video might have some sensitive stuff in it, so take a second if you need to and go check out something else. Otherwise, please enjoy the show. There are some things in life you can always count on. The sun will rise, bills will be due, my copy of The Bigs 2 will haunt me until my last breath, and problematic YouTubers, much like a plague, will always come back. Shane Dawson is one of these slugs that we are intimately familiar with on this channel. I should use a different word because the last thing I want is to be intimate with Shane Dawson.
My God, you're greasy.
Shane Dawson is a creator whose career has been plagued by misstep after misstep that he fails to take real accountability for. And now, in a move that made me bring a manicured hand to my mouth and go, oh, Shane Dawson has chosen to platform a creator with allegations of illicit misconduct involving minors. Birds of a feather, huh?
Oh, Willow. Oh, I'll whip your hair back and forth. Oh.
You just blowing from Stupid Town?
It's someone that we're also familiar with on this channel. Someone who uses copyright claiming to suppress victim testimonies, unlists his original apology video, makes music insulting his victims, and so much more. You know his name, so say it with me now, because today we're talking about Destry Smith. Now all we need is some intro music. Oh wait, I know a really good one. It goes... Welcome back to the channel, new and returning, young and old, fans, haters, and everyone in between. If you're new here, why not subscribe? It's quick, it's easy, just takes a second, and you can always undo it, but it really does help out a lot, so thank you. So who is Destry Smith? Well, Destry Moore, better known as Destry Smith or Captain Desdes, is a YouTuber, musician, and vlogger. He was originally put on by Shane Dawson. Formerly had a channel called Des and Nate, which he started with his friend Nathan Owens. It's worth mentioning that Nate himself also had some allegations brought against him. However, he is not the focus of our video today. And is also a name that I've been wary about saying in the past. I've had to substitute it with things like Dustry, DS, etc. because the mere mention of his name was demonetizing and suppressing videos. No, but what does upset me is when you try to make a video on a sensitive topic, you take all the precautions, and YouTube still tries to censor it by demonetizing it. So to provide an update and information that I believe the public deserves in order to form an opinion on these claims, I'm gonna watch my language, because we're going to be using Duster, Dusty, and Gray. Now, back to Destry's channel. I could go on and on about his common denominator brand of humor that's basically sex joke plus weird face equals funny. I can't believe he's actually making me say this, but boy, your humor is 2000 and late. God, every photo of Destry gives the energy of, I say the N-word in private. Oh, wait, he does it on camera.
Because it's being a bit of a
Anyways, Destry's milquetoast comedy, and that's a stretch of a word for it, is not the focus today. Because in 2021, a veritable flood of allegations came forward, alleging that Destry was being intimate with underage fans, cheating, manipulating his friends, and being every flavor of shady under the sun. Also, because I have a sneaking suspicion that Destry is watching, hi sugar.
A fucking clown! It's right there!
I'm gonna give the disclaimer that I gave in all of my videos before. This is all alleged behavior that I am reporting because I believe people have a right to information to form an opinion on. Now, I followed along with everything as it was happening, so time for a flashback recap. Fuck, I love assonance.
Hi, no hate to this comment right here. I just kind of want to talk about what I've been like torn about like saying who this is, because the only reason I've even thought about him is I saw one of his videos on my For You page. I was like, holy this was a YouTuber that I'd been following since I was 12. His entire fan base is young girls because he was cute, and like the only thing I'm going to say is he's emo. And I had gotten in contact with him because he had put his Snapchat up on Twitter late at night and said that it was for any of his fans who he wanted to talk to. He was bored, whatever. And so we talk, and not really talk, like, you know, he hits on me, and like he's like, oh, I'm like in the room with the guy I used to film videos with, and it was just very like kind of childhood ruining because he was like my first crush ever. And to know that he was totally comfortable using me, but like, is that wrong?
Yesterday I made a video letting everybody know that the creepy YouTuber I was talking about was Destry, Destes, and he reported it for harassment and bullying, which, by the way, Destry, stupid thing to do. See, I wasn't even going to tell anybody, you know, the gross stuff that he had sent me or he had told me, because somehow I thought that it was my fault. I thought that I must have been the only girl, you know, who had fell into that. But that's not true. Turns out there's literally tens and tens, maybe even over 100 girls that Destry has done the exact same thing to. The entire comment section was filled with people saying, oh, he tried to get pictures from me when I was 12. Oh, he groomed my little sister. Oh, he tried to hang out with me when I was 14 in Orlando. Even Nathan, the person he used to make videos with, came out and spoke up about Destry. I was feeling so bad because I thought I was the only one. I was like, maybe it was my little stupid. No, it wasn't. I told one of my friends and they knew someone you did it to as well. Update about the situation. I have been receiving all these accounts from multiple victims who were of various ages, some were minors, and so it's taking a little bit longer for me to compile all those stories.
So I'm here to share my experience with Smith. Because in 2007, I considered myself part of the emo and scene culture and, you know, would go to shows, meet up with people, fashion, blah, blah, blah. So I did see that posted his Snapchat information online and he wanted to talk to his fans. Me at the time, I was more interested in learning about YouTube and like what it was like behind the scenes. That was the type of fan I was. I wanted to know like all the details and like how it works. And when I first started talking to him, he asked me, you know, what I did and blah, blah, blah. At the time, I was starting to get into fashion and did a lot of cosplay. So I mentioned to him that I was doing cosplay and I went to competition. When I tell you that this gross mother asked me a whole bunch of sexual questions about hentai and cosplay, disgusting. Long story short, like, we became friends down the road, but got worse. I'd have expected it from someone that's friends with
So I never really thought I was really gonna have to say anything about this, because I never thought it would end up coming to light. But here's my story. So this is probably gonna take multiple parts, but this is my story with and that whole situation. So I added on Snapchat back in, I want to say 2014, or the very beginning of 2015. And I added him not thinking he was ever going to add me back or anything. I had been watching him since probably 2010, maybe. And when I added him, you know, of course me thinking I'm not going to get an ad back, I was very wrong. I think I got a response within, I want to say 2 hours, 3 hours, he added me back, and I was ecstatic. I was so excited. But little did I know this wasn't going to be anything like how I had pictured it would. So for my first day of talking with Destry, it was a lot of, like, I'm a really big fan, thank you so much for the ad back. This is awesome. I've been watching since school, which was a really old video. Some of you who've been watching him a long time would know, some might not. Very cringy video, but that's the first video I had seen of him, was right after that was released. He said thank you so much, like, it's awesome, sent me lots of hearts, emojis, then proceeded to be very flirty. And I was like, huh? So I was super caught off guard, but part of me was like, oh my god! Like, fangirling a little bit. But I was like, there's no way in hell this is real, right? Right? So at this point, I knew, like, things were weird. My rats are drinking water, I'm sorry about that. But I knew things were really weird at this point, but I rolled with it. Because I was a fan, and I had been dreaming of this moment that he would finally talk to me. Let alone the fact that I was a 14-year-old girl, 14, who lived in the middle of nowhere. I was incredibly ill. I was in and out of the hospitals constantly. I was very, very sick. I didn't have any friends. I was a total outcast, let alone scene queen culture for sure. So, this being said, I thought maybe I would finally have the chance to have a friend I could confide in and tell everything to that wouldn't take advantage of me, but I was wrong. And just generally, I didn't think about the fact that he was older than me as much as he was, which he was in his 20s. I was 14. I was a 14 ill child, and I thought I was making a friend. I didn't go into any of this expecting things to turn out the way that they did. But then again, every time we talked, it slowly and slowly started to get worse. He would make comments about me being beautiful or how he wished I lived closer. You know, just generally things a 20-something-year-old man should not be saying to a 14-year-old. I don't give a who you are. That's a fucking child. I was a kid! And of course, who was I going to talk to? The only people that I had and had the ability to tell were my brother and my now ex, which I did confide in them, and I told them everything that happened, but it was after the fact. Given I was on so much medication that I have bursts of time where I don't have a lot of memory, but I have a vivid memory of one day when my hair was being ripped out because they had glued wires all in my hair to my head. So I wanted to save myself the pain, and I shaved. I shaved my entire head. And this was a really big deal to me. So I had sent him a picture after I shaved my head of me sitting in the doctor's office. And I just said, hi, like, what's up? We talked for a little bit. And he asked why I did it. And I told him it was because all of the wires pulling out my hair, and he made a comment saying, well, don't worry about it. You're still hot either way. Excuse me? I am a 14-year-old girl who just had to shave her head, and you're more worried about the fact that, like, well, you still look hot. You're a fucking creep. I brushed this off. Of course, I was a little bit upset, and I said I had to go into my appointment, so I would talk to him later. Well, what I got about 20 minutes after we had had this conversation of me saying I was upset and pouring my heart out about being upset over me being ill and having to shave my head, I got that little red square on Snapchat out of the blue. So, of course, there was no part of my brain that was like, maybe you shouldn't open this. You shouldn't trust this. Hey, don't do it. Which, God, I wish my brain would have just connected the dots and said, hey, something's not adding up here, babe. But I opened it, and I think you can guess what was in that Snapchat. Again, I didn't really reciprocate flirting or anything, so this was out of the fucking blue to me. Like, that's a grown man. That was a grown man. That was an adult. Given, if this was another 15-year-old boy I went to school with, I would have just blown him off and off, maybe blocked him. But no, this was a grown-ass man that I looked up to, that I dreamed about being friends with, that I looked up to. He was an idol of mine. But that's when reality hit me, and I was like, oh shit. Maybe this isn't who I thought I've been talking to. Maybe this person I've been looking up to and confiding in is a monster. And maybe he's somebody that I don't need, let alone want in my life. And as much as it hurt me, I took that chance and blocked him. I then took to Twitter, Instagram, every other social media platform I had, and I blocked any known account of him that I could find. I went onto Twitter and said I do not want to see this user's videos. I blocked his account so his videos wouldn't pop up. When he really started blowing up, it was hard to avoid, so at one point I just got rid of everything. And it was probably one of the biggest heartbreaks I had experienced at that point in my life. It really made me realize that no matter how much I think I can trust somebody, there's always going to be bad people out there. There's always going to be people out there, even if you look up to them, that they're monsters and they take advantage of people. There's disgusting people out there. I cried for maybe a week and a half. It broke my heart to know that this person I confided in and looked up to for so long was a monster. And who could I tell? Nobody was gonna believe me, especially after he started blowing up everywhere. And I can't even imagine what anybody else has gone through. I know that there are people out there who I'm sure have dealt with much worse when it comes to situations. Luckily, I was far enough away from him that he couldn't take advantage of me any further than he did. The most he could do to me was send me inappropriate pictures or ask me for. If I did something he didn't like, he'd make me feel like. But I never had the fear that he could actually come forward and hurt me. This being said, I hope that other survivors are okay, and I'm here. And for any other survivors of death, I'm here, 1000%. You can come to me at any point in time. If you need somebody to talk to, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I wish every day that I would have had somebody I could talk to, because I thought I was alone. And I just want you to know that you're not. And I can't express how happy I am that this is finally coming to light. And that I don't feel like I'm crazy and I'm having to block it out of my memory. I blamed myself for so long because he's a disgusting human. Or him saying these kind of things to you isn't okay. It never was okay. And I stand by everybody else who comes forward, or even if you don't. And tonight, and anybody else who has also come forward, I can't thank you enough. I feel like I've had the biggest weight lifted off of my shoulders to know I'm not crazy, and I'm not alone.
So I want to preface this, first of all, by saying thank you to Nathan for coming out with their stories and making it easier for me to come out and tell mine. And keep in mind that if any of this seems kind of confusing, this was in 2014/2015, and it's not something that I've really wanted to come out and talk about, but I was encouraged by them. So in 2014, when I was 18 years old, I signed on a Skype one day and it said online, and I hadn't been on in a while, so I don't know when I added him, but I did start watching his videos in middle school, and he tried to call me and said his video wasn't working. So he sent me his Snapchat. We Snapchatted for probably a few days before he gave me his phone number, and it just kind of went from there. I'm gonna continue this in multiple parts, so go watch part 2. So after the first few days of Snapchatting and talking, he did give me his phone number. And sorry if I'm kind of looking all over the place. This is super uncomfortable to talk about. Yeah, so he gave me his phone number, and I actually watched a new video that he uploaded a few days later where he was talking about his lady friend, and I actually called him out for it because up until this point I hadn't been told anything. And when I called him out about it, he told me that he was with this girl who I'm not going to name, although I'm sure she knows, who he said was very verbally, emotionally, and physically abusive, and that he was trying to get out of it, but he just was stuck. So I thought I was doing kind of like a nice thing. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, like trying to be there for somebody and support somebody through a toxic relationship. He continued to kind of be flirty and very inappropriate. So a few months after we started talking, I actually moved down to Florida to live with my dad, and I lived in Jacksonville, so I was about an hour and a half away from Orlando. I did multiple times try to hang out, but was always told that if I wanted to hang out, I would have to drive down there. He would not come up to see me. And keep in mind, this whole time, like, he's always hitting on me, he's always being super inappropriate, but he would disappear. So he would always text me off of, I guess, like a texting app. It wasn't his actual phone number. So he would disappear for like weeks at a time, pop back in, talk about how terrible his girlfriend was, get sympathy because I felt bad, and then disappear again. And this was just a regular thing. And me not seeing like 20,000 red flags continued to go along with it, and definitely wasn't my best choice. And that sort of pattern would go on for a while, where we would talk, he would hit on me, then he would disappear. And he did actually, but I guess you can buy Minecraft. I never played it before this, but he bought me Minecraft and basically put me on his server where he would have like himself and like friends and stuff play, and he would always tell them like, oh, this is my girl, you know, she's really cool, don't worry about her. I told her about the whole Amber situation, and you know, just kind of being not secretive about it. So I'm thinking, okay, like this is a genuine scenario, like something is going on and he's trying to get out of it, like making me think that there was actually something abusive happening and he wasn't completely playing me, which he was. So this sort of thing goes on for a while. I stayed in Florida for a year and it was going on the whole time. Once I left, I just kind of left it behind me because I realized that nothing was going to come from it. I did become friends with Nathan, which is the one good thing about this insane scenario. But once I left Florida, I kind of left it behind me. I didn't want any part of it anymore because I realized that I was being played. Once I found out that the whole abusive relationship thing was made up just to kind of guilt trip me, because he would constantly say, oh, you're the only good thing in my life, like I have nothing else going for me. And I thought that I was doing a good thing because this person was supposedly struggling with a very hard home life. So I just quit. Once I moved back home, I completely quit the whole communication. The whole reason I came out about this was because I didn't realize that it was something that I wasn't alone in, and realizing that there are people who were actual children when this was being done to them is disgusting. Keep in mind that you cannot trust this person, because when I was 18 and I was naive, I did not send like photos. That's not my thing. But I did send like kind of suggestive photos, and when I was 20, maybe 21, they were sent back to me from when I was 18 years old. So they'd been held on to for 2-3 years, and when I said, please delete them, I don't feel comfortable knowing you have them, we don't talk anymore, like I really don't want you to have them, I was told, no, they are in a secret place that no one will ever find them, I'm not deleting them.
Okay, so I was not going to talk about this because it's something that I've just ignored for 10 years, but I think that I should probably say something about it. So I was 14 when I met Destry, aka Captain Destinate, whatever, and he was 20, and I didn't really watch his videos, but I kind of like saw a couple of his videos and I commented on one of his posts, and then he reached out because he saw that I was like in the area or whatever. So at this point we started talking, we talked back and forth for a couple months, and he would always kind of be weird about like just how lonely he was and how crazy, you know, his life was, and he's so lonely, he just wanted, you know, snuggles or whatever. So I'm gonna have to make a part 2. So yeah, we were talking for a couple months. We finally met. He wanted me to come hang out at his house, and I was like, oh cool, he actually wants to hang out. So I told my mom I was going to a friend's house for the night, and then he came and picked me up and took me back to his house. I walk in and Nate is there. He was living with Nate at the time. He kind of waved hello, and he was very elusive, and I think that was just because Destry would always bring home random girls, and I didn't know that at the time, so I thought of him as like the mysterious, you know, just roommate. But we spent the majority of the time hanging out in his room. He would talk about video games and his crazy ex, which he mentioned a lot, like a lot. She didn't have a name, just some crazy ex that was like obsessed with him or whatever, and implied that he was single, right? So he kind of, well, I'm gonna have to make a part 3. So we would hang out and talk in his room, and then he kind of started, you know, getting all snuggly, and I was getting a little uncomfortable. I had no intentions of any sexual activity because I mean, I was a virgin, so I was just like, we're gonna snuggle and kiss or whatever. But yeah, I had no intentions of that. But he started getting a little handsy and a little weird, and then he would like just talk about his crazy ex and how lonely he was, and I felt bad, you know? So, and me being 14, I didn't have good judgment, and I was like, yeah, you know, whenever we can do stuff. And then he, you know, went on about how everybody has to show him paperwork to prove they don't have STDs when they, you know, do things with him. But I didn't have to because I was a virgin, and he seemed pretty excited about that. I'll have to do a part 4. So yeah, anyway, that's what happened. I didn't have to show him paperwork because I was a virgin, so I was special apparently. And the only reason, honestly, the only reason that I was okay with this was because he weirdly kept talking about how small his thing was. Like, he mentioned it a lot, and I thought it was really weird, but I was like, you know, 14, I'm like, hey, it's not gonna hurt as bad, like, sure, why not, you know? So yeah, we did the deed or whatever, and then he kind of just like sent me home, and then we continued talking for a couple months. I probably went over there about 3 or 4 times in total, just to have snuggles and sex, basically. But we kept talking for a couple months, but yeah, nothing really came of it. We weren't exclusive, but he did take advantage of me, a 14-year-old at the time. I just realized I labeled the last one part 5 when it was really part 4. So whatever. But yeah, it's just, he kept like talking to me afterwards. Eventually, like, it just became less and less, and he would chime in like once or twice a year, just to, you know, catch up and see how I was doing. But I think basically it was to see if, you know, he was, you know, I was still wrapped around his finger, I guess. But it was just, I don't know, the whole thing was weird, and I really tried to forget it, but it's being brought to light, and it makes me really happy, but at the same time, like, you know? But that's mostly my story. It's just, hopefully somebody can relate. I know there's others out there. I know there's a lot of others out there. But, oh, one more thing. Last but not least, there were some pictures sent, because I don't know, I can't remember if I sent, how many I sent, if I sent any, but being as, you know, knowing who I was when I was 14, I have no doubt that I had sent him photos, and I know for a fact that he has a file of photos of underage girls, and it's just disgusting. So I think, yeah, we need to finally deplatform this guy and just prevent him. I found out he's still doing this, and that's why I'm talking and speaking out, because I was not aware that he would continue to do this through his 30s now. I don't even know. But anyway, thanks for listening. That's me. That's my story. But I've since married and had a baby and like forgotten about all this. So, if you are one of the victims, just speak out. But yeah, bye guys.
Hey, what's up? I'm not crying because of this, don't worry. Just found out that a YouTuber that I used to actually send messages with, like we exchanged messages for like a month, and he was really flirty when I was 16, found out that he was outed as a groomer. And no, he never sent me any like explicit things, but the messages were really flirty, and it made my little 16-year-old heart fly out of my chest, and then out of nowhere just stopped talking to me, and I was like, oh man, oh boy, oh, I'm so upset. So yeah, there's that. And just to make things explicitly clear, I never flirted back with him. I think that's why he stopped talking to me. I was in an abusive relationship at the time, and was kind of afraid of what would happen if I did like flirt back, which obviously, you know. But yeah, it was really weird, and I was just trying to be nice, just, you know, we had regular conversations at first, and yeah. But I was 6 fucking-teen. And if he did this to a fucking 16-year-old, he probably did this to younger kids too. I think I saw a video where a girl was 12. That's fucking disgusting. And if anyone needs to be canceled, it's this guy, so.
I never really thought I was gonna make a TikTok, but here we are. I was shown some videos earlier today of some people coming forward and talking about their experiences and their interactions with Destry Moore, also known as Cap'n Destes. I was probably 12 or 13 when I first started watching Destry's videos on YouTube. It was right when he was first starting to get popular and everything, but I fucking loved him. I thought he was the coolest guy in the universe. I was an emo piece of shit. He was an emo piece of shit, but he had like fans and a following and was funny. I looked up to him a lot. Like, I thought he was the coolest. Seriously, I thought he was the coolest guy in the fucking universe. I made my parents watch his videos every once in a while. Like, every week I would religiously watch his new videos. I was a freshman in high school. I was on Twitter and he had tweeted something one night like, oh, here's my Skype name. Add me on Skype, and if I have some free time, I'll add some of you back. Maybe I'll call you, maybe I'll message you, whatever. I was fucking 14, so I messaged him probably 3 times that night alone, just saying like, hi, I love you, hello, like, please notice me. Probably 2 months later or so, I was getting ready for school one morning, and I would check the computer in the morning before I left for school sometimes, and I had a message on Skype. It was from Destry, and I just saw his name pop up and immediately started freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, Destry messaged me. And I opened it, and it said, hi cutie, or something along those lines. It was something really close to that, like, hi cutie, hey, you're cute, something like that. I ended up talking kind of frequently, actually, to the point where he gave me his email so we could message on iMessage. Talked all the time, like all the fucking time, and I thought we were friends, like I thought it was super cool, whatever. And then one night, I remember very specifically, I was sitting in my room doing homework, and he texted me and asked if I could send him a video of me twerking. Anyway, so things kind of progressed from there, you know, whatever. There was one time that he had me send him some pictures, you know, so I sent him some pictures, whatever, and he texted me, oh, this is so gross, I shouldn't be laughing. He texted me back a photo of his bed sheets, of his bed, with cum on it, and said, ooh, look what you made me do, like, with a winky face, and I was like, okay. But either way, you can't send that to a 14-year-old, man. Like, look what you made me do. You shouldn't even send that to a fucking adult, because that's fucking weird. And I was 14 and in high school, so I showed my friends because they liked him too. They're fucking assholes, and like commented on one of his YouTube videos like, hey dude, I just saw your jizz, or something like that. He got mad at me and like didn't talk to me for a couple days. He was pretty pissed at me. We got in a fight, which like rightfully so. That was a shitty thing for me to do, but I was also 14. We were talking again after that, and he got a lot more serious on the whole like, hey, you should come visit me, we should meet in person. For some context, I live in Illinois and he lived or lives in Florida. And I was 1, too young to have a license, and 2, too young to have a job. So there was no realistic way of me getting to fucking Florida. I told him that, and his response was, you should ask your mom to drive you. You really think that me asking my mother and saying, hey, I've been sexting this grown-ass man for a couple months, do you think you could drive me to go and meet him? You really think that was gonna go well? Kind of like stopped talking after that, I guess. And actually, from what I understand, he either was in a relationship or had just started dating somebody when we stopped talking. I do want to say that I am very grateful and I'm very lucky that I walked away from this situation without any trauma, without being hurt. You know, I'm okay. And at the end of the day, I can sit here and I can talk to my phone about this and laugh and have a glass of wine, and I'm okay. And I recognize that that's not the case for everybody. If he hurt you, fuck if anybody hurt you, and you need somebody to talk to, please reach out to me. I am always here for you.
Following these allegations, Destry came out with a lukewarm apology video, except he pulled the old YouTuber special where you make a video that you call an apology video, but make no real apology or amends to the hurt parties. This is a video that he has since silently unlisted. The evidence of its presence is there. You can even see the like-dislike ratios disabled on some of the videos following it. He anticipated backlash. Thankfully, I still have the video, and I made my own video reacting to it, so let's recap that.
So I took some time away from the internet to try to assess how to handle everything going on right now, in the hopes that what I say will reach an actual audience and not just people that want to see me fall.
Alright, this feels like some doublespeak to me already. Let me tell you why. Because A, to any sensible person, considering what you've been accused of, there shouldn't be a lot of thought behind responding. Apologies and potential legal repercussions are owed here. I don't think anyone, especially the people that were impacted by you, want to hear a defense story. And you talk about it reaching the right audience. This feels like code speak for, I wanted to see if everything would die down so that I can still sucker in whoever stuck around.
So first off, I just want to say I am aware of accusations being made against me, and what I can say is while I can't agree with some of the things being said about me, I'm also not completely innocent in everything.
Yeah, Guy, I think you're a little more than not innocent. I think you're guilty. I don't think there's anything for you to not agree with. You know, what kind of cognitive dissonance is that? It's like, wow, look at all these facts I'm going to ignore.
I will say that nothing is completely black and white. There are obviously two sides to every story, and especially the ones that I can personally take accountability for. So what I can and will admit to is that I used to be just a terrible person. I was a big piece of shit. I have been very vocal about the fact that I was a big piece of shit. It has never been something that I've ever tried to hide. In fact, my mom will be the first person to tell you that I was a terrible person. I was a liar, a cheater. I was a giant man whore in my past. I tried to see multiple women at the same time. A terrible friend? Absolutely. But do I think I'm any of those things anymore? No, I really don't. Am I any of the other things that people are saying about me? Absolutely not. However, I am constantly sorry about the person that I was, and I'm constantly saying sorry for the person that I was, constantly trying to distance myself from the person that I used to be even 5 years ago. And truthfully, I think I've come a long way. I mean, depending on how long you've watched me on this channel, I'm sure you can see the same thing about me and my content. I am not the same person I was 12 years ago when I started my first channel.
Destry, you talk about taking accountability. Just one question. When? Do you think just making a video on a topic is taking accountability? No. You say that you're sorry, and you do what you have to make things right. And in your case, that is getting away from any platform where you could still commit these acts or remind your victims of what you did. You bring up this idea that you've changed. You're so sure that you've changed. And personally, I think you believe that because you grew some patchy facial hair. But let me tell you something. I don't care what you personally think under that beanie, because in this situation, that's not what matters. What matters is the feelings that you've hurt over your career and through your actions. You think that you've changed when you were doing all of this as early as a couple of weeks ago? I mean, this whole situation is barely a month or two old. You're telling me you've changed in that short of a time span? Yeah, I'm so sure.
I've made friends, I've lost friends, I've made lovers, I've lost those lovers. I've made constant mistakes, I've failed dozens of times. But each one of those things was a lesson that made me who I am today, and less of the person that I used to be and the qualities that I hated about myself. Whatever I was, I'm not that person anymore.
I'm not the same person. Where have I heard that before?
The fact that I cheated on my girlfriend with people who I didn't realize were even underage in the first place. But I promise you I'm not that same person anymore.
Whatever I was, I'm not that person anymore. Not that person anymore.
Duster got his original victims videos claimed to try and suppress the message.
Not that person anymore.
Oh yeah, that's where. Dusty, if you're saying sorry so often, how come I don't hear it in this video? How come I didn't hear it at the start where it belongs? How come I didn't hear it throughout? I hear you say the word sorry in a sentence, but I don't hear you actually apologize. Do you see my problem here? You talk like it's a matter of changing who you are as a person. And to an extent, yes, but this isn't some ring around the rosy YouTube drama. This is serious crimes. This is actual offenses. So pardon me for being rude, but how do you change that? You know, what part of your personality do you adjust to remove the pain that you inflicted on people? I'd love if you'd tell me. Write a book about it, why don't you? Better yet, cry me a river.
That said, I am still human. Those aren't the last mistakes I'll ever make. And if there's anything I ever do that's shitty, that irks you, or I make you uncomfortable, or you think that I step over the line, communicate that with me. Let me know these things. Because another thing to note is that my brand is jokes. My brand is weird, creepy humor. It's always been that way, and it will probably always be that way. It's just who I am, and that's presumably why you started watching me in the first place. But I would still like to be told when something I do crosses a boundary, whether that be something I say in a video or something that is proven to be true about me as a person. Communicate that with me.
Are you kidding me?
Listen, Dusty. When there's stories about your advances not being reciprocated and you still proceeding with them, that's kinda someone letting you know, alright? But not just that, it shouldn't be other people's responsibility to tell you when something you're doing's wrong, right? You should be able to read the air. Own your actions, man, and face the consequences.
And with any accusation, normally in an ideal world, you are innocent until proven guilty, but I have only ever seen it to be the opposite. Anyone online is always guilty until proven innocent, and I can't support that idea. And as such, I know that a ton of people have already made up their minds about this situation, and even if I was to explain context of some of the things being said about me, not only would it not help people's image of me, but it would also be dragging someone else's name to the mud. And that is just something I can't do. Even if it exonerates me and everything is great, but it was at the expense of someone else being thrown under the bus, I just won't do it.
Okay, listen closely. Now is not the time to talk about innocent until proven guilty. Because yes, that is a good school of thought to have, most of the times. But it doesn't really apply when there's so much evidence against you that things kind of become undeniable. You feel me? This is not the place to make that argument, nor is it the time to morally grandstand. You talk about how, oh, I have this way that I can save myself, but I'd have to do this to another person, and I won't do that because I'm such a good person. You see, I've changed, guys. If you think that's how you demonstrate change, you have some serious reconsideration to do.
So I understand that some of you won't accept that answer, and if this is where we say goodbye, I understand. Just know that I feel blessed to have been in your life at all. But to those who choose to continue to grow with me, just know that I will continue to distance myself from the piece of shit that I used to be. I have been, and I will continue to strive every day to be the best version of myself. And as I said, if I ever slip up or you feel like I fail, communicate that with me.
Is he still talking about communication? Are we serious right now? Listen, I had hoped that you would say goodbye at some point. I hope anyone who's still being manipulated by you says goodbye at some point. But I'll be honest with you, buddy. The goodbye, at least, that I wanted was you saying goodbye to this platform.
Also, really quick, I do want to say I disabled comments on this video simply to prevent people from fighting in the comments. The last thing I want to do is to spread any more negativity than has already been spread, so please understand the purpose in that decision. That said, feel free to reach out to me. If you do choose to reach out to me, please make sure it is one of the links in the description down below of this video. My previous 2 Snapchats were hacked, and on both occasions I reached out to Snapchat to see what could be done, and apparently nothing could be done about it. So for safety reasons, yes, please don't contact anyone saying that they're me. That isn't one of the links in the description down below. I don't have a Kik. I don't have a public phone number. That being said, thank you for listening and for giving me a chance to be heard.
Yeah, you got a chance to be heard. I just don't like what I hear. No real amends made, no real accountability. Accountability would be removing yourself from the platform because it's clear that you can't handle the power of having a platform responsibly. Following that video, Destry was quick to continue making content like nothing had changed. This man even tried to break into the rap game as Lil Mistake. The only mistake was making this music.
I also write hip-hop stuff as well. I have a side project called Lil Mistake, where I just sort of write about random ridiculous shit, or as just a way for me to vent emotionally. So tell
And so that there's no worry about this video being claimed for copyright infringement, let's do some criticism and review. Yes, I actually suffered through these tracks, so you don't have to. Lil Mistake's music comes off as trite and unsubstantial. The Straight Club has a lackluster beat that underscores a lyrical mess. What tries to be a narrative on hypermasculinity falls flat on its face. The punchline of, man is in a club, oh wait, turns out it's a gay club. Haha, he's gay. Laugh. Is not a punchline, it's just in poor taste. As part of the LGBTQIA+ community, we have plenty of ways to laugh about our sexualities and identities that don't involve trivializing it down to just man sucking pee-pee equals funny. Other tracks like Lies, Middle Fingers Up, Hoes Mad, and Big Oopsie play like platforms for Lil Mistake to diss his accusers with a complete absence of vocal flow. Why yes, your ego does show, because you have to be pretty entitled to think that writing these kinds of lyrics is a good idea in your situation. And with self-aggrandizing lyrics like what you wrote in Lies, you certainly give the impression of being full of ego. Casual dating is hardly what I'd call it when you send unsolicited pictures to minors on Snapchat or when you cheat on your partner. With lyrics like those on Hoes Mad, you want to call people like your victims and like channels covering you irrelevant? I pull more views than you just by sneezing. Nobody's trying to ruin your life. You did that to yourself with the choices you made. People simply want a little more accountability than what's being shown. You know, I thought you said you weren't a violent person, so what's with this Joker arc you devolve into towards the end of the track? Let's also take some lines from Big Oopsie. Worshipping pussy is not a crime. What is a crime, though, is allegedly distributing sexual images to minors. But apparently you're better than everyone because the people who are coming forward about you are just virgins? Real original, dude. Lil Mistake's music is self-serving sonic garbage that fails to convey anything of substance, L+ ratio. With all of this information, it should not be hard to understand the problem many people have with Destry not only still having a platform, but to be allowed to have his platform grow under the supervision of one of YouTube's oldest and most powerful personalities. This is a bad look on Shane, who should be trying to repair his image, and a bad look on Destry for everything he's responsible for. And it's not like Destry isn't aware of all this happening. He's still liking tweets about it to this day. I know because he liked a recent reply to one of my original tweets about the situation, and that's how I found out about him being brought on by Shane. Also, why did he block the person replying and my girlfriend, but not me? That's somewhere between confusing and utterly hysterical. The least that we can do is raise awareness, and I can use my platform that you have all so graciously blessed me with to uplift this information and the voices of those who may not be heard otherwise. And that's everything that I have for you today. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and share the video around. Spread the message. Whenever you're watching this, I hope you have a good rest of your day and an even better tomorrow. I love you. And before you say it back, look in the mirror and say it to yourself. And I will see you in the next episode of whatever I make. And until next time, this has been the Hot Box. Bye!